Good morning. My name is Scott Forcino. I'm an associate broker in Real Brokerage based in New York metro area. And I have with me today a friend, Ed Angelino, who's with Associated Mortgage Bankers. He really knows his stuff. We've been affiliated with business networking and personal contacts for close to 20 years, I would say now. And there's a different market now. Ed's going to comment. This is his platform. So he right here wants people to learn more about the lending climate, and he's giving his contacts a chance where they can promote themselves through a PlugIntro. So I'm super psyched to hear more from Ed. Ed, good morning. And
good morning, Scott. How are you?
Yeah. So it's the summer. I mean, what have you experienced with any kind of slowdown or market update or what's going on? And I'm going to ask you some questions, and I know you have some great information.
Yeah, I want to give you some statistics from Westchester County, which I thought were really interesting. Okay,
Great.
For June. Now this is year over year. June of 2022, new listings 938. Okay, June of 2023, 597, a decline of 36%. Inventory of homes for sale. June of 2022, 1,622. June of 2023, 926, decline of almost 43%. I mean, these numbers are, when people say lack of inventory, they are serious because those statistics are, there's not a lot of homes out there.
And why do you think that is? What's your reasoning? Why is that?
I believe most of it is because they don't want to sell because they have anyone who has a rate in the threes doesn't want to sell. I believe that's one of the reasons. I'm sure there are other reasons that people aren't selling, but that's the one that people always bring up to me. Yeah.
And that makes sense. I mean, if you look at it, to me, I've been having this conversation. To me, it's an apples to orange. If you meet a first-time buyer that missed out on the 3% and now is faced with a 7%, that's huge, right? That's a huge doubling of the monthly payment and with regard to the mortgage amount. However, Ed, this is the part that makes me crazy. If someone bought the house in 2016 and or 2011, they have massive equity. Why are you complaining about a higher payment? Because you're playing with the house's money. You didn't earn that money. You didn't go to work and save it. You slept in the house and you changed the light bulbs and you made money, tax-free according to the government. So what is that point ever said to by you guys and realtors that you're not spending your money? You didn't make this money.
Yeah, you bring it up all the time, but they look at rate that they have versus rate that they're gonna get, But
well, I mean,
I think it makes sense. It's always the same thing. Where am I going to go? Where am I going to go? Look what I'm going to spend. I think for someone downsizing, I don't think the rate should matter because you got equity in your house. You're going to buy a lower priced house or smaller house or condo or whatever it may be, and your payment's going to be probably lower than where you're coming from because most likely you're going to go to a lower tax bracket, and that's where it would make sense, to convince people. Now I'm not the one convincing them. Obviously, it's a realtor, but they have to give them the argument like you gave that the equity is there, unearned equity that you have, your good amount of equity.
Right. But, I don't think the realtors, I mean, I'm one of them and they're going to hear this. I don't know that they lead with that point because it's really almost not appropriate to tell someone to spend, how they spend their money. But I think.
If it's someone that's thinking about selling, but is not fully committed to it, you can give that as a valid, argument that you should sell, So I think you should bring it up. Sure.
I know. I'm not sure realtors do, and that's where they could use that kind of insight, but you made two other points that are amazing. Whatever you said, that there's not a lot of inventory and the rates are up, those are going to stay. That's not changing. So if you don't want to sell now,
For now, it's not changing.
so you say, I mean, there's talk of fives, there's talks of six, but it may not appreciable change, and that other crazy stuff isn't coming back. So if someone has a problem, I can understand when someone, I had a seller goes, where am I going to go? I said, that's not the question. If you don't go now, you think this is going to get better? I mean, when is it getting, this is it. There's not much inventory and the rates are not going down for the foreseeable future, probably the end of the year.
Well,
so that means we're just
that's not that far away, actually, in our
months.
world. 6 months is not really that.
It's not even. It's 4 months. We're almost in August.
4 months. All right. Let's say, it takes till the beginning of next year. So, that isn't really that long a time. But, there's also life events that happen to people that they have to sell,
Right. Births,
deaths, that sort of thing. But we're not, it's not enough to overcome the lower numbers that are there,
So, I mean, what innovative strategy do you work with agents and buyers? Because you work really only for buyers. Do you suggest that they could make their offer sound better, or to have a lower monthly payment? Has that conversation come up with you and your referral partners and clients?
Yes. I mean, the biggest thing to overcome is, when you have multiple offers, which is many of them, 4 or 5, we say go in with a, instead of a pre-approval letter, go in with a commitment letter.
Okay.
So that has worked for multiple people that we've had. It's just convincing them, to do it, and it's the easiest thing to do. It's a commitment letter subject to a property. And that usually convinces the seller to take that offer. It's going to be better than anything other than a cash offer. So.
I know. I always wonder, why isn't that done? Why aren't you completely ready to go? I mean, when you go for financing on a car, you don't get the car then the financing. You got to have the financing in place. Why did real estate always do it backwards?
It's you tell people all the time, well, I'm not looking right now. I'll be looking in 2 or 3 months. I said, well, let's get you ready now. Now is the time to get you ready. If there's any issues, we got to work them out. We have time to work them out. You got to plan it, but a lot of people don't plan ahead. I want a house, and then I'll figure out the financing.
Yeah, and you know what? People who know me know that I'm critical of realtors. They're the first line of defense here. They should say, well, I mean, why waste your time, my time? Why engage the listing agent, the sellers themselves? It's frustrating enough. We should come in fully ready to proceed with all we need is a house and an appraisal.
Well, I think there's a lot of them that do it, and those are the successful ones. There are a handful out there that don't do that, and if you're dealing with a seller or maybe even an agent for the seller that's not experienced, they might take that offer and it's not sound, so.
And they may run it through the washer machine. Well, I mean, what's the buyer's approach now? Are they paying points? Are they trying to reduce the rate, or what's happening? I mean, is there any more?
Actually, they have a better approach than last year. Last year, there was constantly saying, rates were going up throughout the year, as you knew, and everyone thought rates were still at 3%. So there was a constant battle. This can't be the rate. That sort of thing. Now, anyone out there looking knows rates are up. They know where the rates are, and their attitude is, I'll refinance in a year or two when rates go down. So they have a good attitude about it.
And
It's,
as
you know how,
in, in the new
sometimes you get used to paying higher amounts, when you go out to a restaurant, you're not going to be paying, $20, $15 for an entree anymore. You're going to be paying 30 or more,
yeah,
so
it got
people
bad.
expect, once it hits a certain level and it's there for a while, people get used to it, unfortunately. And, well, not unfortunately, but, they get used to these numbers. Here's the numbers. Here's where they are, and, it's not going to change in the near future. So, you know, you got to weigh that and say, I really want a house. It's an emotional decision, as you know. Um, but I think the attitude this year is, let me take. I know the rates are up. Let me take the deal because I can get it, and then I'll refinance down the road.
Okay, but you are, to me, the consummate pro. The R word is thrown around a lot, refinance, but this is not Nevada. Refi.
Well, and I hear you, but remember in the early 2000s, people were throwing around that R word constantly. Okay, when they were putting 5% down or 0% down and those type of deals, and they said to themselves, or someone would tell them, "I'll just refinance down the road." I mean, that's where it didn't make sense. But now you have people putting a lot more down. You have home appreciation that doesn't look like it's slowing down.
What do you think about
Well,
that?
I mean,
You think it didn't top out? You think this is it? You're still going to see maybe not double digits, but that's an issue because let's pretend for this little minute that the house price, the next appraisal under refi is not more. Now the LTV is the same, and in New York you're paying lawyers and you're paying mortgage tax, and it takes time.
Well,
you got the money.
You got to save them the mortgage tax with a SEMA. So that's that's where it comes
right,
in.
And that takes time. So now we're talking about one.
It's not. Well, it takes.
But
it takes
we've
time,
been
but
through
not
this.
as long as it used to.
Ed, you were saying that you think prices, or you're hearing that prices are increasing still a little bit.
Slightly, yes.
Well, that means that. What does that mean to you? That means that people may have missed the boat on all that appreciation.
As far as what time frame are we looking at? As far as when they would have bought?
Right now. I mean, here's a question. Why didn't people sell when it was the lowest rates in decades?
And because people probably weren't thinking about it at that point. At that point, a lot of them were just doing. A lot of them were refinancing their house. They weren't to get that lower rate.
That's a good point. And when people were refining, was it common for cash out?
I would say for a lot of them. I wouldn't say the majority, at least from my perspective. Some were just, I would say it was about 35% cash out, and the rest were just rate and term. But that's just
why would you,
my little part of the world, I can't speak for I don't have the statistics for the rest of the country.
I would think that the statistics would say the opposite, because if there's money to be had and you are getting a better rate, why would you ever leave money inside the walls of the house?
A lot of people don't think that far ahead. I'm serious. Like there's people that were out there screaming these are the lowest rates you're going to see, in your lifetime. And now you hear other people saying, I should have listened to that person. They were right. It's all relative. It's all people, telling people, here's what you can do. There's money available to you at a low rate. Take it out of your house. You have appreciation there. You have equity, but it's a matter of trying to convince people of that. It's not a matter of some people are locked into thinking, I don't want a higher mortgage. I want a lower mortgage. I want to get out of this in a certain amount of years. So
yeah, you're right about that. There's still this half a century old theory of paying your house down.
Right. I mean, they should have, taken that money. If you were doing a cash out at those low rates, you should have taken that money. If you have a lot of credit card debt, pay that off. If you don't have any debt, you could take that money and invest in another house, or B, anything that was paying 6% or more as far as investments go. So it was a fantastic time to do that, and I wouldn't say that there were a lot of people that did take advantage of it, but I would say that there were a lot of people that didn't, so it's all what they're looking to do. It's what their plans are for their future,
Mm-hmm. Well, it's basically maybe, I don't want to say generation, but it's a perspective. Everyone understands the concept of working, earning money, and saving money. That's everywhere. But equity in a home might never happen again. It might be a very fleeting thing. I mean, there were decades from the 30s and the 40s that prices did not go up in America. So, and there's also areas that didn't go up, and there's other places that went up like crazy, certain counties. So the concept of equity is like possibly a temporary visit from the heavens. You know what I mean? It may be not something that they were planning on. It happened, and people just were, I think they were boasting at cocktail parties, oh, my house is worth this, but not doing a damn thing about it.
I think you're right. Yeah. So.
Right. And, and that's the problem with the real estate industry, is that the people in the real estate world are as an on-demand or an as-needed professional. It's not a financial planner that's staying with you for life, that could have easily, looking at those conditions, someone uses you, Ed, as the plumber. I got a leak. I need a plumber. I need a loan. I'm calling Ed.
Well, I think realtors should develop themselves as, obviously, we hear those words all the time, trusted advisor, and, make yourselves that available to your client, whether they're selling their house or not. They should be asking these questions and guiding them about appreciation, about all the things that you were talking to them about. Here's your options, but I don't think a lot do. I think,
and we're on the point of a trusted advisor. The problem with trusted advisor is a few problems. They're not paid to be a trusted advisor, so it's hard to do that. And the bottom of their license says salesperson. They are in this for sales. They're not in this for counseling. They're not in this for and they've never even taken this training. So you're asking people who've never studied this economic condition or opportunities to engage in that activity for almost certainly no compensation, because then you got to put your sales guy hat on. I mean, in an industry that talks about overcoming objections, isn't that the exact opposite of trusted advisor?
To a point. I wouldn't say fully, but to a point.
I
Well,
think entirely.
What when
If you
someone,
say, I want
someone's
to
looking
wait a
sell a
while,
house, I'm not talking about when someone's looking to sell a house. They're not asking their realtor, or their realtor's not telling them, "Hey, I think you should move the furniture this here, or take this out," or there's always going to be guidance that the seller is looking for, and that the realtor is going to give them. So I don't necessarily agree that
correct, but that's on
they're
the
not
as
giving them information.
needed basis. Right, Ed, but that's in the as needed basis. They're not around, other than they're in a possible sale that people, right? You know what I mean? They're only involved when someone calls them or they reach someone for a transaction. The realtors are entirely transactional.
I hear you, but they also keep in touch with their past clients or future clients, emails and that sort of thing. And then, those people call every once in a while asking for advice, which they're going to give them. They're not going to tell them no. So there's still that relationship there. If you're a good realtor, you're going to have that relationship with people, and you're going to consistently keep up with your past clients and future clients.
Yep. I agree. That's ideal.
But that's not the case, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's ideal, but when you're always on the treadmill of a sale or putting out the fires inside a deal, the system in the deal.
You're right.
We were talking about refinancing. We're talking about the strength of buyers. I mean, a seller who has equity is a much stronger buyer, and they should not be worried about the payment like others have been.
Right, because you're gonna most likely take the difference, the proceeds, which is going to be larger, and you can have a pretty large down payment on the next property. So you're 100% right.
Great point. Let's pretend, and on $100,000, if it goes from 3 to 6.5, that's what, a few $100, 300 or so.
300 or so.
We don't know.
I'm sorry.
From 3 to 6, under $100,000 from 3% to 6%. What's the difference in that payment?
It's probably close to $200 on 100,000.
Okay, so $200 times 12 is $2,400. So in 5 years, we're talking about $10,000 or $12,000, and your house just went up $200,000 in equity, right?
Right.
And if you want to double, triple that for 200, 300, you're at $35,000. When people were paying before 35 over asking, they just bought you 5 years of a higher interest payment.
Yep.
All right. Well, I think we did a great job today, Ed. We're having a little bit of technical, but make sure your audience sees this. So our plan is to build a business group around you and your agents. We'll do our work on our end. And if you can, just invite more people. It's yours. This is your platform. And I appreciate all the insight. I love to talk to a pro.